Oh, hi there, guys. So I just wanted to comment today on Nigel Farage's Summer of Crime series of press conferences that he's been running over the last few weeks. And I just wanted to talk really about why I think it's just such a ludicrous concept, what he's talking about. So for me, it just brings a whole new meaning to the idea of silly season. So let's have a quick look at what Farage has been saying in his most recent press conference, which was yesterday, I think.
You will get them to vote for you.
No, they are afraid. They are afraid. I dare you to walk through the West End of London after 9 o'clock of an evening wearing jewellery. You wouldn't do it. You know that I'm right. You wouldn't do it. And that's just in London, let alone what's happening in so many other parts of the country. And the genuine fears that mothers have, particularly for teenage kids, when we know already that an Afghan male has a 22 times more likely chance of being convicted of rape than somebody born in this country. The fact that 40% of sexual assaults in London over the course of the last 5 years have been committed by those born overseas. You know, we have to recognise something. There are some people who come from certain cultures that pose a danger to our society. It's as simple as that.
The reality is that the stats for crime in this country are a mixed picture. You know, the ONS data shows that crime in general is lower now than it was in 2015, and that violent crime now is also lower. So there are certain types of crime that are up, such as thefts from a person, and there's been an increase in sexual offences. But even that needs to be treated very carefully, because that might be down to, increased reporting, the police being much more sensitive in how they handle that issue now, and also high-profile cases like the Sarah Everard case, encouraging people to come forward and report it. So it's far from the bleak picture that Nigel Farage makes out, and I wanted to talk about why he's presenting crime in this way. So the entire notion that we live in a sort of lawless country where you can't go out after dark is just silly, in my opinion. My overall assessment of this initiative from Reform over the last few weeks is that this is simply just a cynical ploy to link crime to immigration, and it's been a cynical attempt to sort of manufacture some sort of summer of discontent where we see large numbers of people on the streets, we see protests, we see riots, and they could then point to that and make conclusions about, two-tier justice and about Britain being a tinderbox. And they've said sort of very similar things to that over the course of these few weeks. And I wanted to put this in some sort of context. This is very similar to the moral panic that there was around the notion of mugging in the UK in the 1970s. And that was a cynical ploy to link robbery to race. So obviously robbery already existed as a crime, but vested interests turned it into mugging, and then they linked that specifically to black youth, creating a moral panic to sort of further their own interests. To bring it back to the present day, I think the reality is that people are right to be worried about certain types of crime. Having said that, it would be fairly easy for the police to get on top of those issues with the right resources. There's no need to turn these statistics into a moral panic. No, I think what this is really about is about making people scared, and that in turn will then make them look to the strongman leader, in this case Nigel Farage, which, when you say it out loud, is quite laughable really. He's the last person that I think of as a strongman. And ultimately, people who spend all their time on Twitter and watching GB News, they're going to lap this up because it fits into their worldview that London is a haven for crime. There are packs of immigrants going around, targeting the indigenous population, which is complete fantasy, really. I think, sadly, what a diet of Twitter and GB News does to you is it turns you into a sort of mild agoraphobic. You're scared to go out, which then means you're going to stay in more, you're going to spend more time on social media and watching GB News. So it's a bit of a vicious circle, really. Sunlight is the best disinfectant when it comes to this sort of stuff. Just get offline, go outside, talk to people, and you'll see that it's okay out there. There is no lawlessness in Britain. Anyway, that's my opinion, guys. Tell me in the comments what you think. Thanks for watching. See you next time.